The importance of Wittenberg historically was due to its seat of the Elector of Saxony, a dignity held by the Dukes of Saxe-Wittenberg, and also to its close connection with Martin Luther and the dawn of the Protestant Reformation. Several of its buildings are associated with the events of this time, which we will cover in this travelogue. How Martin Luther comes to Wittenberg. On November 10, 1483, Martin Luther is born in Eisleben. Originally, Luther was supposed to become a lawyer. In 1505, however, his life takes a surprising turn. During a thunderstorm, he is scared to death, which is why he makes a vow to Saint Anne to become a monk and enters the Erfurt monastery of the Augustinian hermits soon after. At the instigation of the founding dean of theological faculty, Luther comes to the young University of Wittenberg in 1508, where at first he gives lectures on moral philosophy. This building is part of the Augustinian monastery in which Martin Luther dwelt, first as a monk and later as owner with his wife and family. It is preserved and considered to be the world's premier museum dedicated to Luther. Katharina von Bora was the wife of Martin Luther, German leader of the Protestant Reformation. Katharina is often considered one of the most important participants of the Reformation because of her role in helping to define Protestant family life and setting the tone for clergy marriages, hence the emphasis on Katharina's wedding ring. This door was a birthday present from Cathy to Luther. Note the seats on each side of the door where two people can sit and talk. This rare woodcut shows one of the oldest views of the town. The buildings which still dominate Wittenberg today are shown in intricate detail. To the west, the electoral castle with its castle church. In the center, the town church of St. Mary, and on the east, the buildings of the university, as well as the former Augustinian monastery, which are symbolically illuminated by the rays of the rising sun of the Gospel. The saint's most important attribute is a book, which reminds us that she had taught her daughter how to read. The sculpture was probably part of an altar. Lucas Cranach the Elder was a German Renaissance painter and printmaker in woodcut and engraving. He was court painter to the electors of Saxony for most of his career, and is known for his portraits both of German princes and those of the leaders of the Protestant Reformation, whose cause he embraced with enthusiasm, becoming a close friend of Martin Luther. The 95 Theses, written by Martin Luther in 1517 and widely regarded as the primary catalyst for the Protestant Reformation. The disputation protests against clerical abuses, especially the sale of indulgences.
Make it so heavy that people cannot carry it. That's the idea. It was used in this region to collect money from selling the so-called St. Peter's indulgence. And really, the St. Peter's indulgence.
From about 1514, Luther preaches at the town church. He delivers a large portion of his sermons from this pulpit. The two panels of the pulpit basket show the evangelist Matthew in his study to the left and the evangelist John to the right. A wedding gift and a wooden mug decorated with a silver mounting. In 1516, Lucas Cranach the Elder is commissioned by the town council to create a painting for the courtroom in the old town house. Individual scenes are displayed like a broadsheet. At that time when this painting was created, Luther was preaching about the Ten Commandments and drawing large crowds of parishioners. Martin Luther in his doctoral cap and gown. Double portrait of Martin Luther and his wife Katharina von Bora by Lucas Cranach the Elder, produced in 1528. Death portrait of Martin Luther. It takes nearly 10 years after Luther's marriage until he can afford to decorate the main living room of his apartment in the former monastery in this manner. The main feature is the tiled stove. All Saints Church, commonly referred to as the Castle Church, has been called the most famous building in Wittenberg, as the site where the 95 Theses were posted by Martin Luther on October 31st, 1517. All Saints Church was built between 1490 and 1511 at the order of Frederick III, Elector of Saxony, in the late Gothic style. The inscription, Ein feste Burg ist unser Gott, runs just below the base of the spire. The English translation is, A mighty fortress is our God. It is the best known of Martin Luther's hymns. In 1858, commemorative bronze doors were mounted where the original wooden ones had been located. On the doors, the 95 Theses appear in their original Latin form. The doors themselves weigh 2,200 pounds, or 1,000 kilograms. These doors are among the most photographed in Europe. The Castle Church interior. Martin Luther's tomb below the pulpit next to the west side of the church choir, and the tomb of Melanchthon on the east side. In 1983, 500 years after the birth of Luther, 12 new windows were installed in All Saints. These honored the most important Reformation students of Luther and were created by Renat Brom in a timeless style at the order of the Lutheran World Federation. St. Mary's Church, also known as the Town Church, as seen from the Market Square. St. Mary's Church, the parish church in which Luther often preached, was built in the 14th century, but has been much altered since Luther's time. The building also saw the first celebration of the Mass in German rather than Latin, and the first ever distribution of the bread and wine to the congregation. It is thus considered the mother church of the Protestant Reformation. Since 1996, it has been a World Heritage Site. It, the Schlosskirche, the Luther House, the Melanchthon House, and the surrounding, the Zollwörlitz Garden Realm, form the world's densest concentration of World Heritage Sites in one area. Johannes Bugenhagen was pastor to Martin Luther at St. Mary's Church in Wittenberg. The Chapel of Corpus Christi. The Melanchthon House. He was a close ally to Martin Luther, who also lived in Wittenberg.